You said shut everything down. It was your call. It was your decision. You were the guy that was the tip of the spear. You did it. Take responsibility. So let's play some of this right quick. Let's get a little bit of sound. Let's not have your eardrums get bursted. And let's go ahead and roll this.
This New York Times interview that you did, it really just basically looking back at not just how you handled it, how the U.S. handled it overall. You talked about being perceived as kind of the personification of restrictions. And you had this quote that stood out to me. You said,
wait. So let's go back. Okay, hold on. So this is CNN. I think it's Poppy Harlow or one of them people, one of the Don Lemon's former co-hosts on the show that he got fired from. They're showing a graphic from New York Times Magazine, and the pull quote says, Dr. Fauci looks back. Something clearly went wrong. Okay, so he's admitting that he did not do a good job. He always bungles things. I'm not sure how a guy like Fauci has been able to be in the federal government for as long as he's been there. Maybe a qualification to be a federal employee is to not do things properly, because he also bungled the HIV/AIDS epidemic back in the 80s and 90s. He bungled that too, talking about if you live with somebody and all this and that, you can get it. It was a mess back then. He's doing the exact same thing right now, but what he's doing right now has an even greater area of damage. Let's continue.
Perceived as kind of the personification of restrictions. And you had this quote that stood out to me. You said, show me a school that I shut down. Show me a factory that I shut down. Never. I never did. I gave a public health recommendation that echoed the CDC's recommendation, and people made a decision based on that. Now, I don't have to tell you that people who have criticized your response have seized on that comment in particular to say, yeah, you weren't directly responsible for Prattville Elementary School closing or whatnot, but because of the recommendations that came from you and other top public health officials, those are decisions that you saw school administrators make, governors make, and you understand the influence that your recommendations had on decisions like that, right?
He has to, because you're talking about the federal government saying, hey, we think you should shut schools down. Fauci, they trusted him. They believe in him. He is responsible for what he says. If he says the schools should get shut down and then there's laws created as a result of that, I mean, come on, like, be for real. Maybe those laws would not have been created if you didn't suggest it, Anthony Fauci, America's doctor. Come on, be for real.
Well, that's true, Caitlin. But the point that I made in my response to the reporter in the New York Times article was that what it is that there was a personification of me as a person who essentially closed everything down. Those were public health recommendations that came from the CDC, and I have always been very supportive of the CDC because they base their recommendations purely on public health issues. And the point that I made, that as public health officials, it's our responsibility to give the public health perspective to it. The decision of how that balances with other considerations really comes from other authorities, from authorities who have things other than just the public health to be concerned about, economic and other considerations. So that's the point I was making. I was not trying.
Word salad, straight up. You said shut everything down. It was your call. It was your decision. You were the guy that was the tip of the spear. You did it. Take responsibility. And you know what? If things turned out differently, if the shutdowns worked, which they were not going to work, but if they did work, he would say, yeah, I did that. I'm responsible. He would take all the credit when things are going well. But then when they go badly, when they don't go well, oh, I didn't do it. It was the CDC. They said it. I just, pretty much agreed with the CDC. No. I saw him in a documentary that I played on here a little while ago, a few days ago. Remember, he was in Baltimore and then the guy shut him down. And then you have him talking to Stephanie Rawlings-Blake on camera for PBS talking about, well, a lot of these conservative states, they don't want to shut down and we got to get everybody to shut down. You did that. You did all about the pandemic.
What are we going to do about those other states?
Oh, my God. They're going to keep the outbreak smoldering in the country. It's so crazy. I mean, they're not doing it because they say they don't want to do it. They're Republicans. They don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
And we got to break that, unpack that.
You were on every TV station for years talking about everybody should shut down, everybody should wear a mask. You said that. You were the poster boy for America being locked down, America wearing masks, America getting the vaccine and things of that nature. And now we got vaccine injuries, mask injuries perhaps, all type of pollution from the mask. And we have kids that have missed out on years of school because of what you said. All of a sudden now, oh, I didn't do it. It's the CDC that did it. But we saw you on every single Sunday show, Saturday show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show saying that we should shut everything down, wear the mask, get the vax. You did that.
Trying to shun away from responsibility, we made a public health recommendation based on sound public health principles. But that's not the only issue that you need to consider when you're in the middle of an outbreak.
Well,
you have to
right.
consider a number of other things, and that's the point we're making.
I think a lot of parents and teachers would say, well, yeah, the CDC, when they made these recommendations, they should have considered the effects that learning loss would have on children when they're making a decision like that. Is that something you agree with?
No, I do. I believe that you have to consider a variety of other things. But remember, at the time that the shutdown occurred, I mean, you have to distinguish, Caitlin, between the crisis at the point when our hospitals were being overrun and we were...
Oh, stop, man. Why you got to sit here and lie, man? That whole lie about the hospitals being overrun. Remember the hospitals being so-called overrun and these nurses were doing whole dance routines on TikTok? Y'all remember that? Do y'all remember that? I'm talking about full dance routines during the pandemic. I've not seen them do dance routines anytime recently. Why? Because people are outside of their house and going back to the hospital as normal, getting checkups and getting treated for paper cuts and whatnot on their fingertips. They're back to the hospitals as normal. We're back to regular traffic. There was not some kind of overwhelming presence of people in the hospitals during the pandemic. That was a lie, a big lie. And remember, the biggest example of this was when that hospital boat went to New York. It was this big boat because, remember, we were told that they were so overrun with people, didn't have enough staff. It was just too much going on. So, okay, we gonna send help. We sent this big boat, this big ship to New York City, right there, Hudson River. Nobody used it. I mean, you might have had a handful of people that were on it, but for the most part, it was an empty ship. Because why? Because there was no big overwhelming of the hospitals like he is trying to say right now. Why would you get on TV and lie right in our faces like this? We know that was not the case. So why do this, sir?
Having cooler trucks to put bodies in because we didn't have enough room in a morgue. That's when things shut down. The real issue is, how long do you keep that shut down? How long do you keep the schools closed? And if you recall, and
all we're seeing right now is B-roll footage of empty hospitals. You got nurses in there, staff in there wearing the PPE, but that's about it.
Go back on many of the things I've said in a lot of interviews, is that we've got to do whatever we can to get the schools open and get them open safe and keep them open. And I've said that many, many times. But the initial decision early on in the middle of that crisis, I believe, was the right decision. How long you kept them.
So that's the clip right there. I'm sure there's more from CNN, but that's the whole clip that I have right there. Fauci, this guy's a nut, a complete nut. I mean, man, that guy. Man, I wish he could just go away. Like during the scandemic, I remember hating seeing them on television, and then after it was over with, and we got right back to normal life, he just kind of vanished, and now he's back in the spotlight. Like, what's going on? Is you trying to sell a book? Like, what's his next course of action? You 80-something years old, just go away, man. These people that are so old, it's like, enjoy your twilight years. Enjoy your twilight years. There's no need to be on TV anymore trying to cop please. There's no point in you trying to cover up what you did and try to make it sound like something else. You did what you did. You said what you said. Now, either be responsible for it, face consequences, or go away. Personally, what I like to have happen is he gets sent away. Big rocks, little rocks. So that's a 2-for-1. The first thing, he's gone. I don't see him anymore. Second thing is he is held responsible for his actions. That'd be the best thing for me.